For episode 10, I thought I'd return to a previously abandoned episode of GT. I tried to make this one 6 months ago and the narration was horrific, so I decided to scrap it. Now that we have video memories, I thought I'd give it one more go. Everyone has a couple of favourite movies. Hell, some people have 10 favourite movies, myself included. I've seen enough movies to have a top 10. This is my DVD shelf, absolute jam-packed. And it just so happens that I own my top 10 movies, so let's get into them. Just to be clear, these are purely my feelings to the movies, and these are solely my reasons for loving said movies, and they're accurate as of July 2017. Number 10, Mrs Doubtfire.
I beg your pardon?
Doubtfire, dear? Mrs Doubtfire.
Okay, I'm sure most families have a movie that most members own. For my family, it's Mrs Doubtfire, released in 1994 and starring Robin Williams and Sally Field. Robin Williams stars as Daniel Hillard, an easygoing, recently out of work voice actor in a severely strained marriage to Miranda, a hardworking mother of 3. Eventually, the parents receive a divorce, and Daniel receives limited visitation rights. In a desperate attempt to see his children more than once a week, he decides to take advantage of Miranda's desire for a housekeeper and poses as an English housekeeper named Euphigenia Doubtfire. Jesus, that's a hell of a name. Euphigenia. It makes me think of my great-grandmother. I never met the woman, but apparently her name was Euphemia, which apparently dates back to a Christian saint in the 4th century. I don't mean to offend anyone actually called Euphemia, but it sounds more like a disease from the Victorian era. Yeah, but anyway, long story short, by posing as Mrs Doubtfire, Daniel is actually able to bring the family closer and make himself a better man. Things happen that won't spoil, and by the end, Miranda and Daniel are able to put their differences aside and do what's best for the children. You see many movies where couples argue, break up, and get back together at the end of the movie, but the way I see it, this is the most realistic angle when it comes to divorce. They separate and don't get back together, but are able to put their differences aside as all they want is for the children to be happy. I'll say this much, towards the end of the movie, the children are fucking miserable. Something bad happens and they can't see their father anymore. Miranda is able to see they're depressed, and she's able to see how much Daniel cares about the kids. So she's willing to put aside her bitterness towards her ex-husband to support the ones that matter to her most in her life. Should I point towards one scene that shows a more mature and improved Daniel, it has to be his Mrs Doubtfire monologue at the end of the movie.
You know, some parents, when they're angry, they get along much better when they don't live together. They don't fight all the time, and they can become better people and much better mummies and daddies for you.
Oh, it's beautiful. In a way, by breaking up and then working out their issues, it actually made them stronger and better people. So, yeah. I'm trying my best to avoid spoiling these movies. This is a fantastic watch. It has been in my life for over 20 years and I expect it to be there for a long time. Number 9, Fast and Furious 7.
Alright, we made it, Jack.
Oh god, I love that scene. So, the Fast and Furious series. Let me just say this. There are 2 F&F movies on this list, and at number 9 we have Furious 7, released in 2015 starring Vin Diesel, Dwayne Johnson and the late Paul Walker. I've always been an action and thriller type. If they could combine those genres with a good plot and mass amounts of action and carnage, I'm good to go. And for the most part, Fast and Furious can do no wrong. Furious 7 on the other hand, the action scenes are great, but what makes this movie one of the best in the series for me is the production side of things. How the movie was made. Paul Walker died halfway through filming. What impresses me is that they were able to finish the rest of the movie without him, thanks to computer technology and stand-ins, mostly Paul's brothers Cody and Caleb. From the viewer's perspective, the scenes look seamless, and apart from the end scene, it's really hard to tell the difference unless you're a hardcore know-all about Paul Walker. I think what sealed the deal for me is the tribute to Paul at the end of the movie. I saw the movie for the first time about this time last year, and to this day I'm still trying to work out how much of that monologue is Dominic Toretto speaking to Brian O'Connor and how much of it is Vin Diesel speaking to Paul. I'm a massive fan of Fast and Furious, and I plan to keep watching until the very end, as they plan to round the movies up to 10. Never know, it may be good. Fate of the Furious certainly was good. Number 8, A Fish Called Wanda. Okay, this one is from 1988 and stars John Cleese, Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Kline. In London, George Thomason and his flatmate Ken are planning a major jewel heist. George decides to include his lover, Wanda Gershwitz, and her brother Otto. Spoiler alert, Wanda and Otto are not actually related and are secretly lovers. The heist goes over well and they escape with $20 million worth of diamonds. After storing their take in a secure hiding spot, the group split and intend to depart to Brazil in a few days. However, George, not trusting Otto, and to an extent Wanda, returns to the hiding spot and moves the jewels to another location.
You have the ruin it's like to make people trust you! Shut up!
And that's where we have the plot. After ratting out George and getting him arrested for robbery, Wanda and Otto spend the majority of the movie trying to figure out where the hell George stored the loot, eventually leading Wanda to attempt to seduce George's lawyer, Archie Leach, a successful man living with a severe bitch of a wife. Yeah, I could go into details, but that's the basic gist of his life. Just listen to her.
I spend the morning trying to get the waste disposal man to come, have lunch with Marjorie Brooks, who takes up the entire meal complaining about her husband. Then I have to play 3 rubbers with Philippa Hunter. And I come back here and Sandersons have sent the wrong flowers.
Oh no.
Right, to avoid spoiler, I won't go into further plot detail, but I'll say this. There's a reason why this makes my top 10 list. This is probably the funniest British film I have ever seen. It's been, I want to say 15 years, and the comedy material in this movie has never gotten old. Otto is the best character in this movie. There's not a question in my mind.
You pompous, stuck-up, snot-nosed, English, giant, twerp, scumbag, fuckface, dickhead, asshole!
Number 7, Back to the Future Part 2.
The future.
The future could have been so good. Right, I may hold Fast and Furious to a high standard, but Back to the Future goes way beyond that. I love the Back to the Future series. I may cover the series properly at a future time, naturally, so I'll keep it brief. I love all 3 movies, but this one, while still entertaining, is my least favourite of the trilogy. It doesn't really mean much. I'd still watch the trilogy anytime, and I still hold all 3 movies close to my heart. Yeah, I can't go into much detail right now. I'll just say that despite a few flaws here and there, number 2 is still a fantastic movie. I mean, think about it. Before 1989, what kind of sequel has ever gone back in time into the first movie? It's a hell of a concept. Plus, look at 1985A. Biff Tannen is pretty much running America. What a crazy idea that is. Thank God that didn't happen in real life. Oh boy.
It's like we're in hell or something.
No, it's Hill Valley, although I can't imagine hell being much worse.
Before we end this subject, did anyone see the movies in theatres on Back to the Future Day, October 21st, 2015? That was a big day for the series. New merchandise, new box sets, the Telltale game was re-released. Not to mention the fact they ran all 3 movies consecutively in certain cinemas to celebrate the date. Yeah, it was fantastic. I remember the beginning of part 2 getting a massive round of applause when Doc Brown announced the date.
Alright, Doc, what's going on, huh? Where are we? When are we?
We're descending toward Hill Valley, California at 4:29 p.m. on Wednesday, October 21st, 2015.
2015?
Yeah, that was a cool date. Okay, next! Number 6, Fast and Furious 5. From one franchise to another. A lot of people say Fast 5 is the best in the series, and I certainly agree with that. This movie is the one that made me a full-on fan of the Fast and Furious series, but that's for another time, hopefully. What made this one better than Furious 7 has to be the action, specifically the end. Brian and Dominic rip a gigantic bank vault straight out of a police station with just 2 muscle cars and engage in a car chase across Rio, pursued by a group of the most corrupt police force in the country. It's fucking fantastic. Let's use a controversial 2005 movie to reenact my initial reaction to that scene. The police cars represent the vault, and Sean William Scott represents me.
Well, I'll see you on the other side.
That's my honest to God reaction. I had no idea they were going to yank the safe from the wall. I did not see that coming at all. But when it happened, oh my God, yes. Number 5, Toy Story 2. Yet when you're a kid, you watch a lot of cartoons, animated films included. I've seen my fair share, but the one that stuck with me the most as a child, and even as an adult, is the 1999 movie Toy Story 2. Come on, everyone knows Toy Story. If you don't know Toy Story, get out! Woody is due to leave for cowboy camp with Andy, but is damaged at the last second, so Andy decides to leave him behind. After a few days and a creepy nightmare, Woody ventures into a yard sale to rescue another toy and ends up in the hands of Al McGuigan, the owner of Al's Toy Barn, and an extreme toy collector, and it's down to Buzz Lightyear and the rest of Andy's toys to locate and rescue Woody before Woody is sold to the Kanishi Toy Museum. Yeah, apparently Woody's a rare toy. Just go with it. Yeah, that's all I can say plot-wise. What do I need to say? It's Toy Story. It's one of the greatest trilogies ever made and some of the best animated movies ever. Controversial opinion, I think Toy Story is better than The Lion King. Lion King 1 and 2 are great movies, but they don't compare to Toy Story. I love this movie to death. I loved it in the 90s and I still love it to this very day. Some may disagree and say Toy Story 3 is better. And while I agree Toy Story 3 is a fantastic and super touching movie, it doesn't compare to the nostalgic 95-minute long extravaganza that is Toy Story 2. So, yeah, let's just end with a Star Wars joke.
Surrender, Buzz Lightyear. I have won.
I'll never give in. You killed my father.
No, Buzz. I am your father.
Number 4, Back to the Future.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The original 1985 movie starring Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. The big beast that is probably the most famous time travel movie ever made. Except for maybe It's a Wonderful Life and I guess The Time Machine. Okay, it's the most famous time travel movie in the comedy genre. It caught me early and it stuck with me. Lord knows why. Although, to be honest, I could say the same about Ed, Edd and Eddy or Sonic the Hedgehog. I guess the characters simply grew on me. Plus, the DeLorean is cool as shit.
If I'm gonna make a time machine, it's got to be iconic. I'm not gonna use a Honda fucking Civic.
So it stars Michael J. Fox as 17-year-old slacker Marty McFly. Wait, that doesn't sound right.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
That's better. Anyway, we have Marty McFly. He's friends with the local crackpot scientist, Dr. Emmett Brown. During a late-night experiment, Doc Brown is killed by a group of Libyan terrorists, and Marty is accidentally sent back to 1955, and accidentally endangers his own existence by preventing the initial meeting of his parents. Oops! So with the help of the 1955 Doc Brown, Marty has a week to get his parents back together before his one and probably only chance of being able to return to the future occurs. You know, after 15 years, this just occurred to me. What are the odds that in the span of 1 week, Doc Brown invented time travel with a vision of the flux capacitor, Marty's parents meet for the first time, Biff Tannen receives a guide to become a billionaire, a lightning bolt damages an important part of Hill Valley's heritage, a lightning bolt that Marty just so happens to have information on, that can allow him to return to the future in a machine that runs on a fuel source of such magnitude that only a bolt of lightning could produce otherwise. Seriously, what the fuck are the odds of that? Well, to be fair, the one about Biff is erased by the end of the second movie, but still! Yeah, it's best you don't think about time travel that much. It makes your head ache. Let's just say that that week in November 1955 is one of the most fortuitous periods of time ever. I'm counting the first two movies here. A lot of crazy shit happens between the 5th and the 12th of November.
It could mean that that point in time inherently contains some sort of cosmic significance. Almost as if it were the temporal junction point for the entire space-time continuum. On the other hand, it could just be an amazing coincidence. Damn! Gotta fix that thing.
Oh shit, Folly Time Circuits. 1885. Jesus, a long time ago. I wonder if we'll be seeing that time again. Number 3, The Italian Job. Oh, that 1969 classic heist movie. 3 Mini Coopers, the Italian Mafia, $4 million through a traffic jam. It was fantastic. One of Michael Caine's best, and one of the most iconic movies ever made. Hell, let's have a look at that most famous clip from that movie.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's a great movie. But we're not talking about that one. Oh boy. No, we're talking about the 2003 movie starring Mark Wahlberg, Charlize Theron, and Edward Norton. Oh boy, if my opinion on Toy Story wasn't controversial, my Italian Job opinion certainly will be. Yeah, I think the 2003 version is better than the 69 version, but let me explain why. Charlie Croker and his group of thieves, including the group's former leader John Bridger, managed to steal $35 million worth of gold bullion from Italian gangsters in Venice. One of the greatest thefts of all time, let me add.
Because we just stole $35 million worth of gold without even holding a gun because he planned this down to a T. Nobody else could have done that. Nobody. Charlie!
Charlie!
35 million unarmed. Hell of an achievement. On the way to Austria, a member of their gang, Steve, betrays them, steals the gold for himself, and kills Bridger. A year later, Charlie visits Bridger's daughter, Stella Bridger, and asks for her help. They plan to steal back the gold in revenge. This is where the movie wins for me, and why I consider it to be better than the original. It's the moral of the movie. What Charlie and the reunited gang do to Steve in the movie is never about the gold. This is their way of avenging the death of John Bridger.
Hey, it's not about the gold, Stella. Okay, John was like a father to me too.
This is the one time I'm going to spoil the movie. You have 5 seconds to skip to this time.
You gotta get your wish and wait till I do. Fire.
Towards the end, the movie becomes a more touching version of Fast and Furious 5. They're able to capture the armoured truck, steal the remaining gold, and then a massive chase through Los Angeles ensues between Charlie and the gang, and Steve in a helicopter. Fortunately, they essentially have control over the city with Lyle, the group's computer whiz.
You'll never shut down the real Napster.
Oh my god, my father loves that line. It was actually through him that I first saw the movie. I was staying at his place in 2005, he owned it on DVD, I popped it into my PS2, and it was the coolest thing ever at the time. And the movie stuck with me ever since. There's never been a time where the movie bored me. Plus, Stella's highlight never gets old. I won't go into any further detail about the plot, the movie is definitely worth a watch. The best way to view the movie is by accepting that they're not out for gold, but out to avenge a father and friend. Even if Steve didn't have any gold left, that wouldn't stop Charlie Croker.
It's over when I say it's over.
Number 2, Groundhog Day. To be honest, number 2 could go to either Groundhog Day or The Italian Job. It was really a toss-up, but the number 2 spot goes to the 1993 comedy film starring Bill Murray and Andy McDowell. A lot of people love this movie, and I could definitely see why. Bill Murray stars as Phil Connors, a selfish and rather arrogant weatherman in Pittsburgh, tasked with covering the yearly event in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, known as Groundhog Day. All seems to go fine until he becomes stranded in Punxsutawney because of an unexpected blizzard, and is forced to stay at a bed and breakfast. The next day, Phil wakes up and discovers he's reliving February 2nd, and has no idea why. After a few days, he realises he's stuck in a time loop and has no idea how to break said loop. After several suicide attempts, some reckless jackass-style car chases, and a number of attempts to pick up women, basically enough time to memorise every single thing that's going to happen in that day.
In about 5 seconds, a waiter's going to drop a tray of dishes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay?
Okay, that's enough.
It finally occurs to Phil that the only way to break the time loop is to stop being an arrogant sack of shit and make himself a better man. Time to spend a couple of months memorising every single thing that's going to happen throughout Punxsutawney, not to mention a couple of years up to master piano. I first saw this movie in 2008 and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was a fantastic experience. I don't usually immediately rewatch a movie as soon as I finish it, but I think Groundhog Day is a rare exception to that. I love the comedy, I love the touching storyline in the end, and I love that Phil really does become a changed man in the end. To wrap it up, here's what I think is probably the greatest scene in the movie.
Hey! Phil? Phil? Hey! Phil Connors! Ned?
And finally, number 1! Back to the Future, Part 3. I love the movie series to death. This movie had to be here. After the events of Back to the Future 2, Marty is stranded in 1955 with a 70-year-old letter about where Doc Brown has ended up after being struck by lightning. He races to the town square, and that doesn't go too well.
Okay, relax, Doc. It's me, it's Marty.
No, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
Ah, crap. After reading the letter and retrieving the DeLorean, Marty finds a tombstone belonging to Doc Brown and decides to return to 1885 to save his good friend before he suffers death at the hands of Buford Mad Dog Tannen.
Nobody calls me Mad Dog. Especially not some duded up, egg-sucking gutter trash.
Oh shit, he a lunatic! So it's down to Marty to find Doc and get him back to the future before anything bad happens.
Damn, I ripped the fuel line.
Oh, come on! I'll cover my views on the movie properly at some point, but to cut it short for now, the movie is simply a joyride to me. Some people may disagree and say Part 3 is the weakest part of the trilogy, but I'll never agree to that. To me, Back to the Future 3 has the best music, the best time period,
1885! Amazing! I actually end up as a blacksmith in the Old West.
the best action, the best climax, not to mention the fact that my favourite character in the series finally achieves happiness.
I never met a woman who liked Jules Fred before.
I never ever met a man like you before.
It is an absolute happiness-filled thrill ride. I fucking love it. I first saw a clip of this movie back in 1997, and like Smile by the Supernaturals, it never left me. I'd go back to this movie any day, and I'm guaranteed a good time. Not a single complaint here. This is my all-time favourite movie ever made. So that's it. Do you have any favourite movies? Leave them in a comment for us all to see. Yeah, that's all I got. Let's have a totally original ending.